Alcohol is strictly prohibited in the Islamic world today. However, in the early years of Islam, alcohol was not immediately forbidden. Its prohibition came later through a series of successive revelations. In this section, we will examine the place of alcohol in pre-Islamic Arab society and the gradual process through which it was ultimately prohibited. Before the advent of Islam, alcohol, especially wine, was at the center of social life in Arab society. Wealthy merchants hosted wine gatherings, and poets frequently praised wine in their verses. Many poems of the time openly glorified drinking. For Bedouin Arabs, drinking was a symbol of generosity and social status. A person who failed to offer the best wine to guests was considered stingy. Tribal festivals, victory celebrations, and trade agreements almost always involved alcohol. However, wine did not only accompany celebrations and agreements, it also fueled countless disputes and hostilities. In some cases, blood feuds that lasted for decades began with just a few words spoken by a drunk person. Alcohol was often the spark that ignited violence. It was into such a society that Islam emerged. And Allah, in uprooting this deeply rooted habit, followed a method that was patient, gradual, yet firm. During the Meccan period, the earliest revelations received by Prophet Muhammad did not directly prohibit alcohol. Instead, certain verses initiated a process of reflection in the minds of the believers. In particular, Allah states in Surah An-Nahl, "From the fruits of date palms and grapevines you derive intoxicants and good provision." This verse did not impose an explicit prohibition. However, it subtly drew attention to the distinction between intoxicants and what is truly good provision. This verse planted the first seeds of awareness in the minds of the Muslims. Gradually, the idea that intoxicating drinks were not truly good began to take root. Discomfort regarding alcohol consumption started to grow. Then came the migration to Medina. Muslims now lived in a society where they could govern themselves and implement their own laws. At this point, the second stage began. During the Medinan period, Allah revealed the true nature of alcohol more clearly. In Surah Al-Baqarah, the following verse was revealed. "They ask you about wine and gambling. Say, in them is great sin and some benefit for people, but their sin is greater than their benefit." For the first time, Allah explicitly declared that alcohol contains sin. Yet it was still not entirely prohibited, and its perceived benefits were acknowledged. After this revelation, some companions voluntarily gave up drinking, saying, "If its sin is greater than its benefit, then we abandon it, O Lord." However, a large portion of society continued to drink, as there was still no definitive ban. Giving up a habit deeply ingrained over many years was not easy, and it was at this point that the third stage began. One day in Medina, a group of companions joined the congregational prayer while intoxicated. The imam became confused while reciting the Qur'an. This incident caused great alarm, because prayer is one of the most sacred acts of worship in Islam, and intoxication had violated its sanctity. In response, Allah revealed the following verse in Surah An-Nisa. "O you who believe, do not approach prayer while you are intoxicated until you know what you are saying." Alcohol was still not explicitly forbidden, but since Muslims prayed 5 times a day, alcohol consumption became practically impossible. The time during which one could drink was severely restricted. This prepared society for a final and absolute prohibition. Eventually, at a banquet hosted by some wealthy Muslims in Medina, a fight broke out due to intoxication, and blood was spilled. This incident preceded the revelation of the final verse. In Surah Al-Ma'idah, Allah declared, "O you who believe, intoxicants, gambling, stone altars, and divining arrows are but defilement from the work of Satan, so avoid them that you may succeed." Satan only seeks to sow hatred and enmity among you through intoxicants and gambling, and to turn you away from the remembrance of Allah and from prayer. So will you not desist? With this revelation, alcohol was definitively prohibited among Muslims. One might ask, why did Allah not prohibit alcohol with a single verse? Would believers not have abandoned it immediately if commanded to do so? Surely there was wisdom in this approach. Allah, as the creator of human beings knows human psychology best. Therefore, he prepared minds, convinced hearts, and allowed people to fully accept the wrongness of alcohol before enforcing the prohibition. Sudden bans are often temporary. Change imposed through force tends to reverse once pressure is lifted. But change that comes through free will is lasting. First, people embraced faith, tasted the love of Allah, and witnessed the wisdom of the Qur'an. When the prohibition finally came, they said, "If Allah has forbidden this, then surely there is wisdom in it." In conclusion, the prohibition of alcohol is not merely a command of do not. It is also a declaration of liberation. Allah imposed this prohibition to free his servants from the chains of addiction. The gradual process of prohibition demonstrates Allah's mercy. He knows our weaknesses, yet he also believes in our potential. Without coercion or destruction, he prepares minds and leads people gently toward what is right. Today, alcohol devastates the lives of millions worldwide. According to the World Health Organization, approximately 3 million people die each year due to alcohol. Families fall apart, children are traumatized, and societies collapse. But thanks be to Allah, Muslims have been protected from this calamity. A prohibition revealed 1,400 years ago has saved billions from this harm. There is another conclusion that should be drawn from this. If there are people around us whose behavior we consider inappropriate, we must understand that it is not right to expect them to abandon their actions all at once. If such an approach were correct, God would have applied it to us in the same way. However, he guided us to the right path gradually, step by step. Therefore, if we wish to help our friends find salvation and become better people, we should also follow this process gradually, step by step. If this documentary helped you understand the wisdom behind the prohibition of alcohol, please like the video, subscribe to the channel, and share it. Share your thoughts in the comments. Together, let us continue exploring the profound wisdom behind Islamic teachings. See you in the next video. As-salāmu ʿalaykum.